My name is Jason. I lost my son.
I'm Juliana, and I lost my mom.
My name is Darren, and my wife died. And this is Elliot, and her mother died.
My name's Kimmy, and I lost my dad.
My name is Bryce David Matthew Payne. My mother and grandma died.
My name's Brianna, and my mom and my dad's mom died.
Hi, I'm Ron, and I lost my wife and my son.
I'm Rebecca, and I lost my brother and my mom.
2 years ago now, my son passed away. He was 11, he had a brain tumor. The first sign that I know now, but I didn't know then, was it was like he had a lot of saliva. So I took him to the pediatrician, and she sent us to the ER. And that evening we found out that he had a brain tumor. And 2 days later we found out that it was virtually a death sentence. No one survived it yet. From diagnosis to death was 5.5 months. I have a picture of Mom and Joe. My wife had leukemia. She fought very hard. She really did much more than many other people would do. It took me a very long time to ask her to do it for me. You got to get better for, your daughter and your father, and you got to keep fighting. You got to keep plugging. And then ultimately, I told her I needed her to get better for me. But she succumbed to one of the side effects during the treatment. It looked like we just needed to get around the bend, and we just never got there. Joseph was a really bright kid, exceptionally bright, if you ask me. And of course, because he's my son, he's the greatest thing since sliced bread, but he was a whiz at math. He would do ridiculous calculations in his head. I asked him what 15 times 37 was, and he'd go, 2,356. Really? And I'd have to get a calculator. Hey, yeah, you're right. And he'd look at me like, I know I'm right, I said it. And then probably the worst thing for me, we were out for lunch one day, and I asked him how much of a tip should I leave if I wanted to give the waiter 18%. And it took him 5 minutes to figure it out. And that was the last time I ever asked him about math. But he knew. The sad part is I wasn't brave enough to tell him about it. So for that, I guess that puts the punctuation on why a place like this is kind of good.
For kids, Imagine is a place where they can come and feel normal.
This is a rock that I made here at Imagine, actually, and it says Daddy with a fish. This is a picture of my dad and me when I was little and we were playing in the pool. This is one of my dad's shirts that still smells like him.
People don't realize what you've been through and the weight that you carry, that grief brings.
And my name is Caitlin. I facilitate the 3 to 5-year-old group, and my dad died. So my dad was sick a good majority of my life, I would say. I remember being a sophomore, and it was around Christmas. And I remember thinking, something's going to happen soon. And so I told my mom, I can't go, I just don't want to go to school the next couple days. And so I stayed home, and in those next couple days, he died. He died 5 days before Christmas. And so when everybody else was celebrating and everything was happy for all my friends, but for me, I still had this gift for my father for Christmas that I never got to give him. And to go back to a place like school, which was just so normal, it was such a normal part of life, it just didn't make sense for me. And so I actually did not go back to school for 2 months. I was homeschooled. I had an amazing teacher who came, and she was supposed to teach me what I was missing in school. But what she did instead was she just listened, and she would come and we would sit in silence. Or remember the first time I laughed after my dad died was with her. and she was just such an amazing support. And eventually, I was able to go back, but it was probably one of the hardest things that I've ever had to do.
Since I've been coming here, you know, my life has gotten a lot easier. I used to feel like before I came to Imagine, like I was the only one, but now when I went to Imagine, I met new friends in my group, and I don't feel alone anymore.
That's nice.
And so just knowing that they can come here and feel like they're not alone and that there are other kids who are going through this is huge.
My wife, Natoya, was diagnosed with late-stage breast cancer in 2004. She went into remission one time, and she actually lived for, you know, someone with such a serious disease, she lived for, you know, 7 years.
She died on June 16th, 2012.
I think he worries me the most. And it's because he doesn't share his feelings and because I know what that does to you. And so, you know, that's why we keep coming. I knew, you know, I kind of knew, you know, the cycle and, you know, cancer, how serious it is. You can almost tell. And so I started thinking about it more and more, more about them and, you know, how they would deal with it when she passed. And I couldn't prepare. There's no way to prepare. Well, that's all. I knew that I wanted to get them help, and so I did like online researches and, you know, reached out to friends. And so we heard about Imagine. And so, you know, we started, and you know, ever since we haven't missed a meeting. I think the only meeting we missed was when there was a hurricane, and we came. We came anyway, but it was closed.
We are all a family, like we're connected. We're not like blood family, we're, you know.
Might as well be.
Yeah.
My name is Janie, and my brother passed away. He was obsessed with Ninjago. It's a type of Lego. He always made like so many cool creations. You wouldn't believe what he could make.
When you're losing someone, it's like getting stabbed straight through your soul. Death is a big thing that people really don't like to bring up as a conversation because they think it might make it worse. But really, it also may make you feel better to talk about it, to get those feelings out of you and out of your system.
It's like every day that goes on, you're never gonna see them again. So it's like really painful to think about your life without them.
So for me, after my dad died, I just remember feeling like, is this ever gonna go away? Will it ever feel better? And I know that if I had had support from my peers and if I had felt like I wasn't alone, that it would have been a much easier process for me. And I think that by doing that here at Imagine, that's how we build resilience and help children to see that they're not alone and that it will get better.
If we had Imagine on the weekends, then we could stay here longer.